as simple as it sounds. Oh, in 20 minutes, I could have a new nose. Yeah, but in 20 minutes, you could be blind too.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of On Display with Melissa Gorga. I'm so excited to talk to you guys all today. I'm sure you guys are all going crazy with like holiday shopping and just like the presents and the parties and all the things. First of all, I need to say thank you to everyone for ordering sprinkle cookies. I am overwhelmed and like in shock, completely in shock over how much you guys are loving these and wanting them. So just a quick thank you. But turning left here, I have the best podcast for you today. You girls have been the girls and the guys have been asking me for this podcast forever. So I am super, super excited to have one of the best plastic surgeons in New Jersey. He's worked on some of the most famous faces in New Jersey. Some we know about, some we probably don't know about. He's a household name here in Jersey. He does some incredible work, and I'm really looking forward to getting all the scoop about all plastic surgery today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the amazing plastic surgeon, Dr. Karolak, onto the show.
Hey, everybody. Wow, that was an amazing introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's all so true. You are a household name. Everyone knows that, like, if they want their face to look good, you're the guy. Like, you're the guy. You do amazing work. I'm just going to compliment you. You really do amazing work because you're extremely modest with how you do things. Anyone who's come to you for, I will say, ladies, I've seen this work up close and personal. Anyone who's been to Dr. Karolak for a facelift, their eyes, like you name it, it's so natural and beautiful and just very like well done without looking like the old school Catwoman that we all used to see like on Camp Beverly Hills back in the day.
Yeah. There's really nothing complimentary about someone asking about who did your facelift or, wow, you changed your eyes. Everything looks, you look different. The whole focus is to really take people's beautiful features and put them on display and highlight them, take away what's just maybe aging, areas of looseness, but really to focus in on keeping people looking like themselves, just better versions.
Exactly. Like, I feel like most people want to just come to you, see you, or see a plastic surgeon. They don't want to look like a different person when they leave, but they want people to say like, wow, you look really good. You look very fresh. Like, just kind of like wake them up a little bit. They don't want to look like a different person. And I feel like people are more in tune with plastic surgery nowadays than they used to be. So people can call it out quicker than back in the day, because I just feel like it's become so popular. It's insane how popular it's become.
I think there are things that go in trends, and I try to stay away from trends. Like natural is never trendy. It's always beautiful. So you get certain areas of the country where people kind of look at their friends who've come to me, and, we get patients coming over from all over the country, from the West Coast, from, North, South, and there are certain areas of the country where if you don't look like you had plastic surgery, you wasted your money. So fortunately for me and social media nowadays, people know the type of work that I do. So the reach is pretty far. And those people in those areas that don't want to draw attention to their faces, but just want to look like better versions of themselves, they fly up here and they have surgery. But they'll get comments from their friends sometimes like, oh, what do you mean you had a facelift? You don't look any different. And that's a compliment to those people because they don't want to look different. They just want to look better. And the results are not subtle. That's the one thing that is really always amazing. Like you can look at somebody that I've operated on and they'll look just like themselves. But if you look at their before photo, a lot of people forget about how they looked right before surgery or the years coming up to surgery because their neck is really loose. They can't get a good angle in photos or on camera. Their eyes look tired. So once all those areas are tucked and repositioned back to where they used to be, they're feeling more confident in their own skin without feeling like they've distorted their faces. And I think media is catching up to that nowadays. I think it's been a little late to the game, but I'm hearing about these things like the new trend in plastic surgery, the natural look. I mean, you're getting, high A-list celebrities looking great on the red carpet or making these appearances, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, I never knew that was possible." This has been going on for, at least in my practice, for 20 years.
Right. I mean, and that's the best part when you can just look refreshed and everyone's like, my God, she looks so good. And they can't totally pinpoint something. That's when you know
Yeah.
you've had good work done, right? That's like,
You're
and do you see how everybody's like questioning Lindsay Lohan right now? That's like all the craze right now is like,
right.
what did she
Exactly.
do? Because she looks incredible. She looks incredible.
Right. And that's, that's not easy because she was, there were times where when you look at her, you're just like, oh, she's so beautiful, but she's starting to look so different. She
Right.
was always a gorgeous woman, and she just started to look puffy, like different, full. And that's one of the mistakes that I think people make as they go through the aging process, and they're especially early in it. They don't want to do surgery, and they're really not candidates oftentimes for surgery, in their 30s or 40s, but they're doing things because they want to feel better about how they look. But unfortunately, they start doing the wrong procedures. And I think that's something good that, we can talk about as far as what procedures are good at what age, because there's a lot of confusion about that.
Oh, we are going to get very into that today. That is pretty much my solid talking point for the day because even when I told people that I was having you on, that's all every like what do I do first and when do I start this? So we're definitely going to get into all of that. I mean, what are
Exactly.
you yeah, like it's all about that. I mean,
Yeah.
what are the most common cosmetic procedures that you're seeing, especially with like the reality TV stars and just celebrities in general? What are the most common things that you're seeing happening?
So there's good and bad. So the most common things I'm seeing happening is some of the non-surgical treatments being either overdone or used or done incorrectly in ways that really can damage their tissues, their muscles, and cause aging to accelerate or make them look different. And then other things that I'm seeing done, and then there's a lot of non-surgical treatments that are being done incredibly well. So it's just finding the right time to do the right procedure on the right patient. And that's a really important point. And another, just to kind of go through it quickly, but the other treatments I'm seeing people doing is, their eyelids, their little temporal adjustment. Facelifts are really big. I think facelifts are the ones that garner most attention because people go from looking maybe tired or drawn to just glowing. And
Right.
when it's done well, no one knows it's surgery, and they're trying to figure out what that was.
Insane. I
Yeah.
there's so you've done we know guys that he's done Dolores Catania, he's done Margaret Josephs, he's done Paul Connolly. You even did Joe Beningo's eyes, correct?
Yeah, yeah, I did. Yeah, see, and that was an
What
amazing one too, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
I love
he
that. And
looked great. So he just looked tired. He had these puffs under his eyes that Margaret kept pointing out, and he kind of like wanted to improve it too. He just felt like he was looking tired, and just something little like that, removing those under eye bags. You look at him, and he just looks so good.
hit that change was insane. Like he really, I would say, did need that procedure, right?
Yeah,
In some which way,
yeah,
he looked so great after. He really, I already told Joe, I'm like, when you get to the point, you're going right to Dr. Karolak and you're doing whatever Joe Beningo did because
yeah.
it worked. Like that darkness under his eye is completely gone.
I know,
It's
I know. He just looks so much more awake, engaged, energetic. I mean, it's amazing what addressing the right area of the face can do for just all the features. And that's one of the things people always comment about too is like, I know you did maybe their facelift or their neck lift, but why does their nose look better? Why does their lips look better? It's because of the attention is being drawn back to the right place. It's not being drawn to like a loose neck or a lot of wrinkling or sagging. We're focusing on the eyes, the features, the nose, the lips. So
I always, by the way, I always say that to Margaret because if you look at Margaret's before and afters, it's incredible. Like she really had such like a beautiful glow up. And I always say to her, like, you did your nose too. And she's like, no, I didn't. But it really looks like she's had her nose done. It looks completely different. And it's just the shape, the shaping, whatever you did, the shape of her face is so beautiful. She was beautiful before, but I mean,
right, right.
she really has such a beautiful before and after. And so does Dolores.
Yeah, one of the great things about Dolores is I met her before she was even on the show, and she was in her early 40s. And she had lost a bunch of weight and just wanted to get more refreshed. So we did like a mini tuck and the neck lift on her. And from that point on, she's been just part of our practice. So I get to
Yes.
watch her and help her age throughout the years. And now she's going, it's probably at least 18 years later. And she's
Wow.
just looking better and better and better. So it's nice to be able to, have a little part in something like that.
Yes, I know she posted not too long ago that you did her eyes, right? What
Yeah.
did you do to the eyes?
Yeah. So with her eyes, I did something called a temporal lift. So when we talk about facelifts, the face is broken up into, three parts, and then you have the neck. So you have the neck, the lower face, the mid face, and the brow area. So with her, she had her neck done, her face done. And then as aging was going on, she was doing Botox, which works amazing. It's a great preventative treatment and a great treatment to just accent the face in younger patients and even older patients. But she was finding that Botox, or actually we were using Dysport in her, it wasn't working as well. And what was happening is as we age, we start losing volume in the temples, the bone starts thinning out. So what I did is just a little temple adjustment with an incision behind her hair. So no scars in front. You couldn't even find this. It's hidden within the hairline. And it allowed me to just raise this whole area to open up her eyes. And it's not the cat eye. It's very different. So a cat eye is typically achieved by doing something called a mid facelift, where you do a lot more aggressive work to kind of, pull things back like that. That's not what
Right.
I'm doing. Again, my work is more focused on natural and adjustments. So this was really just raising that heaviness to the brow to a point where now, if she does Botox, she does it a little bit differently, and it's going to work a lot better too.
So I know, like, so temple lift right now is all the craze.
Yeah,
I feel like we didn't hear about that as much years ago, and people are more in tune to it now. What we used to hear about is the eyebrow lift, right?
that's
Where,
exactly
which
right.
I'm
Yeah,
not a fan of.
yeah,
I have to be honest, because I feel
yeah.
like the eyebrow lift kind of gives you that like Spock type vibe. I don't know. I guess if it's done
Right,
right, it doesn't. But
right,
I
right.
I have always been very like, I think that what it sounds like a temple lift would be more, a little bit more subtle and give you that, because a lot of women starting at the age, I would say even in their 30s, you start to see the wrinkles around the eyelids, correct? And I feel like that age is where women are starting to get concerned even in their late 30s, and that's pretty early, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, there are patients that just they either genetically have heavier lids, or they start noticing wrinkling, because when we're smiling, we're constantly taking the skin here and just squeezing it together. So it's almost like if you had your favorite person, you kept like bending it like this. You might bend it a few times and it's okay, but then after a while, you're going to start to see that purse kind of creasing and wrinkling. It's the same thing
Right.
with the under eyes. The skin is so thin there. So really small procedures, like sometimes just laser and skincare early on to keep that area from wrinkling, is one of the best things you can do preventatively. But eventually you get to a point where the skin starts wrinkling so much that there's excess. So you remove it and do something called a skin pinch, which is another popular procedure for younger patients, where it's a lower eyelid surgery, but it's only removing skin. So it's exactly what it sounds like. You go in, it takes maybe 20 minutes to do under local anesthesia. There's no pain. You just numb the area, pinch the skin, remove whatever excess is there, a few dissolvable sutures, and then really no pain and recovery, just bruising. So that
Yeah,
helps with that.
that
And then
sounds super
yeah,
easy. That sounds
it's a,
so easy. Well, I want to do it tomorrow. What's that? That
yeah.
sounds
And
so
then,
like easy breezy.
yeah, and I think that's probably one of the most, least invasive surgical procedures that I do. Then upper eyelids would be the next one. So, you see that happening in patients in their 30s, maybe early 40s. And I've had patients as young as late 20s come in just because they genetically have very heavy eyelids. So just removing some of that excess skin, or maybe a little bit of fat there, just helps them look more bright. So the eyes are really, really important in the early aging process. But the most important thing to focus on around the eyes is the amount of change. So it's really a game of millimeters. If you think about moving the eyebrow from here to here, watch how much this changes, right? From one
Right.
side to the other, that difference, that's about 3 to 5 millimeters of movement. So when you start to talk about like brow lifts and things like that, remember, that kind of looks a little bit weird. Well, I think it was like a misunderstanding of how the face ages. So people used to think that the brow was heavy, so they just raise it up like this, and then it looks like the brow is in a completely different universe than the face. It doesn't
I
belong
don't like that.
there.
That's what I don't like. I
Yeah,
always feel like that looks crazy when I see the brows up high.
right. Because most of the time it's descent in this area. So people start
Right.
to look heavy. So if you just move this back up, the middle part typically comes up with it. And then you adjust how high it goes. There are some patients that truly need, lifting up the brow, but it's not, what, you want to make it look like it belongs to their face.
It belongs where it belongs. You've been hearing me talk about how much I'm loving the clean and affordable skincare from Dime Beauty. Their work system is the complete skincare package. It's amazing and it's so easy to incorporate into your daily routine. And guys, their tinted glow wonder screen is incredible. I literally use it all day long, every day. I bring it on vacation with me. It is my absolute favorite thing. With the new year right around the corner, Dime wants to give you all the tools to refresh your skincare routine to look and feel your best. Dime is your one-stop for clean, master esthetician founded skincare that really works. From rejuvenating eye serums and clean retinol alternatives to indulging body oils and non-toxic perfumes, Dime has it all. And there is no better time to try Dime's best-selling retinol alternative, TBT cream. All the amazing benefits of retinol without all the side effects. No purge, no peeling, no redness. Dime has 2 million happy customers and thousands of 5-star product reviews. Isn't it time you checked out Dime? Go to dimebeautyco.com. That's dimebeautyco.com. Happy shopping. Balancing work, life, and health can be challenging. Prolong by Nutra makes it easier with a convenient pre-packed 5-day program that supports your body's needs and fits into your busy lifestyle. Prolon is a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes the body while making cells believe that they're fasting. Researched and developed for decades at the University of Southern California Longevity Institute and backed by leading U.S. medical centers, Prolon helps promote healthy blood sugar, support cardiovascular health, and reduce abdominal fat. But get this, Prolon isn't a diet. It's a science based on prize-winning discoveries in medicine. Guys, I've tried Prolon's 5-day fast earlier this year, and I was blown away by how healthy I felt while I was fasting. Usually you go through the exhaustion phase, the hangry phase, and all those other uncomfortable little phases when fasting. But with Prolon, the food is delicious, it's convenient to prepare, and it's easy to implement right into your daily plans. Right now, Prolon is offering On Display with Melissa Gorga listeners 15% off their 5-day nutrition program. Go to prolonlife.com/ondisplay. That's PROLON life.com/ondisplay for the special offer. That's prolonlife.com/ondisplay. Well, it's funny. There was a plastic surgeon that's pretty popular on TikTok, and she used to be a housewife on the OC or something. So she goes through celebrities. She picks celebrities all the time, and she just puts their face up and analyzes them, which I get. I know a lot of the plastic surgeons do this. It's great for, promotion and whatever it is. So
Yeah.
she took my face. I was one that she chose. I have to say,
I didn't
she
see
was
that.
oh my goodness. I'll show it to you. I have to
Oh,
say
come
she
on.
was probably the kindest to me than she's been to most people, which is I'm very grateful
Oh,
for.
that's
But
going to be easy though. You look amazing. Come on. You've aged so great. I mean, you barely.
thank you.
You look
Thank you.
amazing. Yeah.
She said she assumed because listen, it's also the pictures that you pick. Like sometimes I could have
Right.
had a really good makeup job that day.
Yeah,
Or
you contour your nose, you contour the cheeks, right? Like you can make things
yes, let
look
me just tell you, these
overlay
makeup
the
you get a
lipstick,
good
make your lips. Yeah.
yes, you get a good makeup artist, you can look like a different human. Like
Right.
legit. Some of
Right.
these makeup artists are so talented, it's insane. But anyway, she was very kind to me and everyone was like sending it to me, but she thought I had so many procedures done that I did not have. She was like, she definitely got a chin implant. This is my original
Oh my
chin. I have
gosh.
never had a chin implant. She said
Yeah.
I had a nose job, which I did. I did have a nose job. She said I had an eyebrow lift. I have never had an eyebrow lift. I might have had bad Botox in that picture that kind of pulled
Yeah.
up my eyebrows because I have had Botox before that, like, you know, you put it in the wrong spot, all of a sudden you're spocking it a little bit, right? So it's
Right. Right.
like it
Right.
happens. She said that she thought I had buccal, what's that called when
Oh
you
yeah,
take the
buccal fat removal. So that's the
I've
fat
never
underneath the cheekbone, just outside the corners of the mouth, so like right around here. So it's
okay.
people do that buccal fat removal. That's another one of those trendy procedures for anybody who doesn't know what that is. And it's really to, in the right person, it's really to create more of like a hollow, defined cheek, so it sinks in. But the problem is people get it done as they age. That fat, they lose fat in their face, and it can look too hollow. Exactly, right? It's like that really chiseled
So
look
it's that
there. But
chiseled cheek, which let me just say the one thing I happen to be born with, what is
amazing
really
cheeks.
white teeth. These are my real teeth. Everyone always accuses me that my teeth are fake, and a
Yeah,
cheekbone. Like that
yeah,
was just my natural. Like I've always, and so I was like, no, I didn't have that. No, I didn't get a fake chin. I have done Botox, and I have done filler, and I have had my lips done, and I've had my nose done. That is all the procedures that I've ever
yeah,
had
yeah,
at this point on my face. But I was so frustrated because I want to be like, I never had my chin done. I've never had my eyebrows lifted. I didn't do anything yet. I'm going to do it. And
right.
Dr. Karolak, you'll be the one to do it. But I'm going to do it eventually, right? I'm going to want these things. I have nothing against it. But I'm like, I get so frustrated because I'm like, I didn't do any of that yet.
Yeah.
That's me with good makeup or whatever, you know?
Right.
Um,
Isn't that frustrating? It's kind, but it's good that you could laugh at it too, because I mean, the truth, and you know that you're aging really well, and you take care of yourself. You're doing all the right things, and then you have somebody saying, "Oh, she did this and she did that." And
it's
come on.
frustrating. You wouldn't even know. Like somebody literally puts your face up very zoomed in
Yeah.
on a screen and just starts pointing at it. Boom, boom. And she did. And I'm like, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. Get your finger off my face. What's happening? It's like
Oh
part of this
no.
world, right? It's like
Yeah.
part of like being in this world. But she was very kind and she said, whatever she's doing everything right. So I'll
There
give
you
her a
go.
pass
Right.
for
Right.
for,
Right.
for everything.
Yeah, well, it's also partially for entertainment. I think that's one of the things why some of those doctors do that is it's kind of like entertainment,
It's
really.
entertainment. I was entertained. Hey, listen, I was
Yeah,
watching it. I was very interested in what she thought. And like, listen, when people are now doing this to Lindsay Lohan, I'm watching it. I want to see like what did she do because she looks exactly like her young self. She
yeah,
doesn't look like she's had a stitch of plastic surgery, but
right.
she looks so refreshed and so refined and just great. So,
Well, you'd be
hands
surprised how well removing filler from people's faces works to make them look younger and more fresh, and then correcting the things that are truly aging in the right manner.
right.
Right. So if you have somebody that comes in and they're starting to get overfilled, and then you try to correct it, they still look overfilled. And but I think whoever did it did a good job of kind of saying, let's kind of clear this out and dissolve, the lips, the cheeks, reshape things, and then do whatever surgery is going to be helpful to complement that.
Do you recommend getting so I do notice women who do have a lot of filler. Obviously you do filler, correct, at your
Yeah.
office that there's need for that. But are you noticing people are doing too much and it actually has a reverse effect where it's making them look older or if they had the means to do, you know, the cut and tuck is a better solution than the filler. What are your thoughts on all of that?
So the best way to think about it, it can be really simple. So you just want to follow the aging process. So with aging, the three things that we work with is skin, volume, and muscle. So when we start aging, we usually start noticing loss of elasticity to the skin, and elasticity, and that happens in our 40s to 50s. But elasticity is the function of the skin. It's the ability for your skin to withstand being compressed, right? So like if you think about your entire body or someone's entire body as they're going through aging in their mid 40s, maybe 50s, you look at your knees and you're like, how do I have wrinkles above my kneecaps, right? Well, when you look at the knee, when it's extended, the skin is compressed, or when you bring it like that or flex it, the skin is tight and smooth. So like if I pinch my skin on my arm, there's really no excess skin here, right? It's a
Right.
mound of muscle and skin. But if you look closer, there's wrinkles here. Now, those wrinkles weren't there 10 years ago. So the skin's no longer tightening on itself. So it's lost elasticity. It happens in the chest, like you go like this and you start seeing wrinkles. You bring your chin down, it crepes up. When you lose elasticity, you can't ever get it back. And that's the problem with it. It happens in our stomachs. You're on the beach,
Oh, that's the
you're like,
worst.
oh my God, I have wrinkles on my stomach. Where did I get that?
Right.
There comes a point where you start seeing these things happening. And when it happens, like I said, you can't reverse or fix elasticity. But when skin starts sagging in the face and neck, you can remove it, tighten muscles, make it look better. So the best thing you can do for skin is help maintain it as you're going through the aging process younger. So that's why we see patients in their teens now more skin conscious about wearing sunscreen, moisturizing, skincare products, what they're putting on their skin, hydrating. Then we get into volume. That's the second part of aging. Now, volume is where fillers come into play. So we lose volume, and we usually start noticing that volume loss in our 30s, maybe early 40s. When we lose volume, fillers are great. You have some volume loss in the cheek, it thins out, or you get folds, you start putting a little bit of filler in there to replace volume. Now, the mistake that people make and how they start to look puffy and distorted, and how, like to your point, they start to age differently or look more aged, is because they go along this path of doing fillers well. You have a good injector, they're telling them, no, that's too much, this is going to be perfect here. And then they get to the point in their 40s, now they're mid 40s. Now here's where things start getting a little tricky, because the muscles start to loosen, or the whole foundation, which is the muscle, starts to drift downwards. So now you could be doing fillers all these years and looking good. And then you get to a point and now all of a sudden you're in your 40s or 50s and you're like, I just feel like I'm so hollow up here. And the filler used to work so well. When in reality, what's actually happened is the volume in the face has drifted downwards. So it's still good here. But now what they do is start putting filler around the cheekbones to build it up. And now they're expanding their faces. So at that point, muscles are loose. When the muscles are loose, you have to at least consider moving them back, because a lot of times you don't even need filler after that, because the volume's sitting low. You use the muscles to pull it back. That's why I talk about repositioning volume in people's faces with a facelift, using their own volume. And that's because the muscles are being moved and moving that fat pad back up to the cheek. So like even in my case, you can see like I'm hollowed out a little bit here. It's not that I need filler. It's just, I need this to come up.
You just need to pull it up.
Yeah.
You need to pull it up. So
yeah.
filler is good, obviously, in small. You don't want to overdo the filler, because that's when people are looking like little chipmunks right here. There's definitely some housewives on like other casts that I'm like, oh my God, who is filling their faces? Not saying any names, but like definitely you can tell when someone just has too much filler going on.
Yeah, and the other problem is that people don't realize, or now they're maybe starting to realize, is you go in once a year, once every 2 years for filler, and it's supposed to go away, but it actually stays. So there's some portion of that filler that will stay in the face, and sometimes even get into the muscle, where it gets a little bit even difficult to dissolve it if it's overdone. So when you're doing fillers and you're doing them correctly, little by little, you have to have somebody who's skilled enough to look at that face and say, you know what, I know we did a full syringe of filler last year, but this year we're going to do half here and put a half somewhere else, because you still have filler here. Otherwise you can start building on it.
Start to blow up. Is it true that it migrates? Does filler migrate around and kind of move around sometimes? And that's when some people start looking crazy 10 years down the road?
Yeah. So, there's all different types of fillers. So the ones that we'll focus in on really are the more common things, like hyaluronic acid fillers. And that's going to be like your Juvederms, your Restylans, and all those, those types of products, where hyaluronic acid is a natural sugar. It's a sugar that's in our bodies, and it's reversible. Like you can inject something to make that filler go away, or for the most part go away, versus like some of the other permanent fillers, which is a whole nother topic in itself. So the hyaluronic fillers, they like to absorb water, especially as they're breaking down. So some do it more than others. So if you inject them, let's say around the lip area, there's certain fillers that are going to want to, absorb water, and they're going to actually kind of migrate up to the top of the lip. So instead of just injecting the lip area over the course of, a year or even a few months, you might notice the lips start to get puffy. and start to change a little bit in color. So that type of migration, yeah, does happen.
And that you have to get removed, right? Like, because I see that on some people, like it almost looks like a little duck, right? Like up top gets very puffy.
Right. They lose that nice like profile curvature to the lip where you have that nice sharp border. Instead, it looks more, monkeyish. It's just like,
Right.
oh, there.
Right. And it looks thick
But
up
like,
there.
yeah, yeah. So, but it's not like if you put filler in the cheek, it's going to migrate up into your temple or your eyes. It stays local, but it can just get puffy. So that's why you have to understand where to put fillers, which fillers to use where, ones that migrate less, ones that absorb less water. So it's not like you have to be careful who you use as an injector.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, that's so important. So sometimes searching for the right doctor is like a bad Mad Libs. You need a blank specialist who takes your blank insurance, who is within blank miles of you, and who doesn't have a blank month wait to get in for an appointment. Well, ZocDoc makes it easy to fill in those blanks to help you find the right doctor for your specific needs. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high quality in-network doctors, choose the right ones for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health to eye care to skincare and much more. Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. Guys, we use ZocDoc in the Gorga household, and it has saved us so much time and so much of the headache of finding a good doctor. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Melissa to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/Melissa. ZocDoc.com/Melissa. All right, I want to go through a list of some procedures and just talk about them because I feel like they're the most popular procedures right now. But before we do that, let me ask you this. I know it's different, right, for everyone as far as ages, but if you're going to go for your first procedure, right? And it's like what are you seeing age-wise? Like, are you seeing a lot of women come in for the eye lifts first or their eyelid surgeries first? Are they coming for the necks first? Like, what age do you recommend, or what would you say to do first if you're starting to feel like you're seeing the aging happening and you're starting to see a little saggy skin? What do most women do first?
So like, are we talking like in our 30s or 40s? Because it's all, the best things to do are to do non-surgical treatments until you get to a point when there's nothing non-surgical that'll work. And then you start exploring surgery because surgery can be helpful at all different ages, but why do surgery if there's non-surgical treatments that are as effective or sometimes even better? But once we get into that portion in our maybe late 30s to early 40s, we start it starts blurring the line between where non-surgical and surgical is going to help. So at that point, the things that I see people doing are, CO2 laser. That's non-surgical, but it's aggressive. So CO2 laser is a pretty strong laser that helps with moderate to fine lines, even some deep lines and wrinkles. And the beautiful part of it is that once the skin heals from that, the skin looks a lot smoother. It improves sun damage. And you can do that in younger patients. It can be repeated years down the line also, but it gets you to a new set point where after you've done something aggressive like a CO2 laser, where the recovery takes about a week or two to look human again.
Yes, Margaret
Get
just had that done. Is that
right.
what Margaret just did? The
Yeah,
CO2?
yeah, she did. It was,
So
it was
I
her.
really want to ask you about this because so many people want to know. Because I see what it looks like. I saw the bleeding. My sister's had it done before as well.
Yeah.
Oh, does it really help? Is it really worth the pain and the 2 weeks of looking crazy?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I did this. So I did the laser on my wife when she was 36 years old, maybe 35, 36. And she didn't have a wrinkle on her face, but her skin had sun damage. And after that laser, her skin looked better than it did in her 20s. And then
Wow.
she got into her 40s and she's like, I want to do the laser again. And she had maybe a few little fine lines or wrinkles. And so I did it again. And she's like, I don't know why you don't recommend this to people who are younger. Like, look, her skin looks absolutely incredible. She's in her late 40s now,
Right.
but there's no way it would have looked like that without the CO2 laser twice over 15 years. So, it's worth it in the right
Does it
patient.
take away fine lines, or it's great? Is it great for texture? The texture, the dark
Texture
spots,
doesn't
obviously.
help with pores. That's one of the questions I get a lot is I have big pores. I heard the CO2 works for that. It doesn't. I've never seen any benefit to that. But it just
Okay.
makes the skin look glow. And it takes you to a point where once you've gotten that, now you do smaller treatments again and you just do your maintenance. You do your facials, your glycolic peels, you do maybe a little laser where your recovery is a day, 2 days, maybe 3 days versus doing the big CO2 laser. But eventually, most people get to a point where they can benefit from a CO2. And so as bad as the media, as bad as the photos look, right? A lot of it you have to take into context. So there's no pain with it. It looks bad, but there's no pain in recovery. You might feel some burning or zapping sensations during the laser. It's done under local anesthesia also. You don't have to be put out for that. But the whole face is numb. Now, when I say numb, I don't mean numbing creams. Numbing creams will not work for that. It's
No, you need something stronger.
you have to have injections to numb everything.
So
But
you're
once it's numb,
completely numb. You don't feel it when it's
yeah,
happening.
my patients will feel like the corner of the mouth, around the corner of the eye a little bit. But for the most part, like nothing on the forehead, nothing around the mouth,
It's
nose.
doable. It's a
It's
doable
doable.
amount of
It's
pain.
doable.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then once you get home, your face starts swelling. And when you leave after a CO2 laser, because you talk about the bleeding, when you leave after a CO2 laser, you just have gel on your face and ointment to help with the healing. But the laser goes deep into the skin where all the little blood vessels are. So you're creating all these little microscopic punctures that are controlled down into that layer. And those little blood vessels will burst or leak. And then you start seeing the blood covering the face. So
Oof,
that ointment keeps it moist so the scabbing doesn't form and feel
is
uncomfortable.
minimal.
The next day you can wash it and get all that off. And when you wash it, it looks pretty good. But when you have that ointment on and there's blood there, people are like, oh my gosh, their face looks like it's peeling and their skin It's not. It's all the ointment and just like
Looks
your
a
own.
little scary for the first 2 days.
Yeah,
It
it's a
looks scary, but your
shock
results,
value, right? It's kind of like when Kim Kardashian did that vampire facelift and she had blood all over her face. Remember how shocking that was?
oh my
No
God,
pain,
shocking.
like minimal to no recovery, but it looks gruesome.
Gruesome. So, does the CO2 laser, there's two things I want to know. Does it help with the fine lines and wrinkles, or no? Is it more for texture of the skin?
It helps with fine lines and wrinkles. Yeah, but you
It,
have to
it
you have to
does.
be the right candidate for it because someone with olive skin like yours, you have to be very careful because the amount of heat that gets generated with the CO2 can cause
Melasma.
hyperpigmentation, yeah, or darkening of the skin, which you can pre-treat before to help minimize that and treat afterwards to help improve it. But there's a lot of someone like you who has really amazing skin. I mean, it's almost like it is like porcelain. There's other types of treatments to do because just because people are out there doing these aggressive lasers doesn't mean it's for everybody. So you want to
Right.
right treatments. You don't need it. You can prevent ever having to do it by doing smaller things early on. So like we get back to that whole maintenance thing. Doing the right things when we're younger can help prevent needing a CO2 laser later.
Right. So, okay. So I am a person who always because I do have olive skin.
Mm-hmm.
When I go in the sun too much, I will get the melasma on my cheeks. Right. And I know a lot of women get melasma when they're pregnant as well. If you're someone who would be prone to the heat with melasma, would you suggest the CO2 laser or would you go the other route?
Go the other route. Yeah, go the
Good.
other route. So
Okay.
for those patients, so then you get into other treatments like non-laser based treatments like radio frequency. So you'll hear different types of
Without the heat,
voices.
right? Things that don't cause all of the
Well, they're
heat.
still going to do heat, but they're going to do it in a different way with sound waves or radio waves. So it's the benefit to that is it'll target deeper areas of the skin without affecting the heat on the surface. So you can actually create skin tightening still with something like that rather than peeling the skin with a laser or chemical peel.
Okay, so for someone like me who has,
Mhm.
pretty good skin and I could get a little prone to melasma if I get in the sun too much, what should I do right now to maintain? Like, what little procedures? In other words, like, would you say to do the vampire facial instead? Would you say is there a certain thing that I should be doing for? This is getting personal now, ladies. I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
know what I
It's
need to do to keep my skin.
So, you know, I don't. I like to do treatments that I know and have confidence
Right.
in that they're going to work. All right.
Of
So
course.
visible improvement, and there's not debatable improvement. So I think using the right skincare, retinols, using growth factors, good cleansers, things like that, even hyaluronic serums, vitamin C serum, all those things are going to work really nice, on your skin. Then as you move through, and maybe that's not doing enough, you can do, there's different things like a clear and brilliant laser. That's a
Oh,
type of
that's
laser.
the one I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
How's clear and brilliant? I've heard about that a lot. And is
Yeah.
that a safe laser for someone who has melasma?
It can be. Yes. Yeah. So you just
Okay.
have to use it gently. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But that one's good as well. It's a little bit like
Yeah.
of
It's
a
gentle. It's
lighter.
like so you call it like a baby Fraxel laser, which is another good laser. I mean, there's plenty of them. I mean, you can go down a list of things like halo, profound radio frequency is non-laser. That's a great treatment. I think you do well with. It's a microneedling. Well, it's radio frequency needling where the skin gets injected with little needles and it sounds sound waves into the skin to tighten it. I mean, there's
Wow.
there's all these different ones, and I don't want to necessarily name pick and bash ones I
I know
don't
because it's
really
hard. It's
feel.
hard because it's
Yeah,
individualized for each
right,
person, right? That's
right.
just
And then
kind of how
it
it
also,
goes.
a lot of them are operator dependent. So there are times where I'm like, this is the worst treatment. I can't believe people ever do it. And then I'll see someone come in who had it done by someone who actually knew what they were doing. You're like, wow, actually, it
You're
did
like,
a
that was
little
pretty
bit.
good.
Yeah, it did all
Right.
right. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't want to go like
I get
bashing
it.
treatments, but the ones that I talk about are definitely ones I know work really well. And there's benefit to it. And I would do it. I would have it, I would do it in my office for patients. You don't want to do things that people aren't going to see any benefit to,
Of course.
or damage things later down the line where surgery is now compromised.
Right. Or like, you always, with all the lasers, I know you have to be so careful afterwards with the sun. It's almost like you never can
Yeah.
be like your face can never be fully in the sun again without sunblock or a hat or something. I am that girl. Like you will
Yeah.
never, I'll be in Aruba in 2 weeks you will never see me without like a white sunblocked face and a hat on. My
That's
family
amazing.
laughs at me.
Yeah.
I'm a psycho. Everyone wants to know where my skin comes from. I do not let sun touch my face
That,
ever, ever, ever.
that's the key. But then there's people who don't, and then there's people who don't follow those rules, and they'll get a CO2 laser and they'll
And
get
they'll
it.
just fix it. Yes.
But that's the beauty of cosmetic surgery and rejuvenation surgery is you can improve things. So there's
Of
a
course.
treatment for all different lifestyles, I think.
Agreed. On Display with Melissa Gorga is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Hey guys, whether you love true crime, comedy, celebrity interviews, news, or even motivational speakers, you call the shots on what's in your podcast queue, right? And guess what? Now you can call the shots on your auto insurance too. Enter the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. The Name Your Price tool puts you in charge of your auto insurance by working just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you a variety of coverages that fit within your budget, giving you options. Now, that's something you're going to want to press play on. It's easy to start a quote, and you'll be able to choose the best option for you fast. It's just one of the many ways you can save with Progressive Insurance. Quote today at progressive.com to try the Name Your Price tool for yourself and join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Let's talk
Yeah.
about facelifts for a second because
Yeah.
you're the master of the facelift. You do such an incredible facelift. Ladies, if you're looking for some, oh my God, like incredible, incredible facelifts. there's just so many different types of facelifts. So can you tell me the difference between like a deep plane facelift, a mini lift,
Yeah.
the full, like there's so many different types of facelifts. Can you explain the difference between them?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a good way to start when someone's interested in having a facelift is just understanding what the terminology is, because you're going to see people calling things different things, and it really is pretty simple. So when we talk about facelifts nowadays, and someone's talking about they had a facelift, most people are referring to what's called a lower facelift. So it addresses the lower part of the face. Right? A
Right.
lower facelift could be anything from a mini facelift to a smaz facelift to a deep plane facelift. They're all addressing areas around here. Now, full facelift would just mean you're doing your full face. So you're lifting your brow, you're doing a mid facelift, but that's again associated more with that little bit of a cat eye look, and you're doing a
Right.
lower facelift. So that would be a full facelift.
Is
Most people
literally the
don't.
whole entire face.
Right. So that's a full face. Like it's exactly what it sounds like. It's not a better type of facelift. So then you talk about the main facelifts. Mini lifts are small incision facelifts. They go by short scar, or they're called a J lift or an S lift, and that has to do with the shape of the incision. A little J shaped incision or an S shaped incision allows you to go under the skin and just tuck the muscle maybe a little bit, remove a little excess skin. And unfortunately, a lot of times when surgeons are doing it, they're going to try to overcompensate and pull the skin more. And that's where I see patients coming into me where they've had previous mini facelifts and their earlobes are pulled down, or they're pixie eared, where the earlobe is now stuck and stretched to the face.
Oh, I don't
Because the
like that.
skin, when you pull something, when the skin that's elastic will pull, and it's going to pull back. So it starts to pull that earlobe. So we want to, I don't do many facelifts anymore. I did those maybe 18 years ago. I just don't find that it impacts things enough. And there's a lot of non-surgical treatments that work pretty well that help avoid that scar. Next thing is a smaz facelift and deep plane facelift. Those are the two more common types of facelifts nowadays, and they're probably the most studied and most performed. So the difference is, well, the common part of it is that there's an incision in the hair, follows the curve of the ear, then it goes behind the ear and along the hairline. So it's like this kind of shaped
Right.
incision. In both of those facelifts, you go under the skin, and now you get up to the point where we call it the deep plane entry, or where the muscles that we really want to tighten in a facelift are. Now, in a smaz facelift, SMAS, you go under that skin up to that point, and now you have to lift up a lot more of the skin so you can actually take that muscle, grab it, and pull it. And what that
Wow.
does is then moves the skin, and you can remove that excess skin. The only problem there is that this muscle in front, so like from this area forward, has a lot of attachments. So you're pulling against something that wants to pull back. So what a deep plane lift does, and why it's become so popular and looks so natural, is that you go under the skin through that same incision, you get up to that point, and instead of going past that point under the skin and separating the skin and muscle to be able to grab it and pull it, you actually stop there, make an incision that just right in front of that muscle, go underneath it. So the skin and muscle will stay attached here. And then you're able to get to this one point right here where there's a ligament that you can't treat with a smaz lift. And that's why a lot of times if this ligament is holding the muscle down and you do a smaz lift, what you end up doing is creating like this little bit of a sweep, because this is so
That cheekbone look, like that
little, yeah.
lift right there.
So with a deep plane lift, you can actually go under the skin, keep the skin under the muscle, keep the skin and muscle attached, release these ligaments here. And now instead of pulling the muscle, you actually raise it, lay it down in its new position. It'll heal in its new position without
Wow.
pulling it.
So
So
you
recovery
recommend the deep plane facelift,
now,
probably
yeah,
the
nowadays,
most?
and there's been debates over the years, but I think it's pretty much understood that the deep plane lift is probably the most consistent, most natural result. And I've done them all, but
Right.
again, it's my preference. That's, you might have somebody argue something different, but I think I think it's pretty well known that the deep plane lift is one of the best types of facelifts to do.
Right. It sounds
It gives you
wonderful.
the most
I
control.
feel, I feel like everyone too, like women especially, they feel like they age the most through their necks. Like they just, it's this area here, your
Yeah,
neck and your
yeah,
chest. It's like, it's the first sign, like we're all Botoxed all over our faces. And then there's the chest and the neck. Do
yeah.
you do a lot of neck lifts as well? Do a lot of women do that together with the facelift?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because then you get into, all right, well, I just want to do my neck or I want to do my face, and how does that all play into it? So it's very unusual for me to do a neck lift by itself, and the reason is just, if you understand what happens in the neck, the neck lift procedure affects two muscles, one on each side of the neck, and it's like a sheet of muscle. So there's an edge that goes from the chin on each side down to the collarbone. So people talk about like those bands or cords. That's the middle edge of that muscle. When it attaches to the collarbone, it goes along the collarbone up to the jawline and back down. So it attaches to here, it attaches this area. So this is the muscle we're talking about. It's like this rectangular sheet here.
Right.
So as we age, these muscles have fibers that hold them together, and those fibers weaken, and the muscles start to sag and come apart. So the treatment for a neck lift is you have to make an incision under the chin, go under the skin, actually remove those fibers and stitch those muscles back together. But then there's also this edge, and this edge. This is fixed. So the next part is to now tighten this edge of the muscle right here, so you can improve the lower part of the neck and move things back. And then the last part of the neck muscle to tighten runs along your jawline, and that blends into your facial muscles. So that's why most neck lifts typically involve a lower facelift, because you have to move the lower face. And if you go like this, a lot of times you'll see the neck is improving just from the face. So that's why there's those three areas. So most neck lifts involve lower facelifts as well.
Right. Or else you're just going to have this like tight neck and it's not, you got to keep going.
Yeah.
You got to
Otherwise,
finish the,
yeah, tight neck, and you got this like lump of nothing here, right? Just loose. So you have to move that up too. So, but
okay.
especially like in the lower, like this part or the décolletage, that's different. That doesn't get treated with surgery. So everything more from like the collarbones up. So this is going to be more like laser based or energy based, like radio frequency treatments, or even, skincare and things like that.
What about, let me ask you about the liquid nose job. Do you do those?
Yeah, I do. I do. So
Do
when
a
I started
lot of people come in for that as well? And do you recommend?
Um, I'll do it as part of a surgical plan for patients. So I don't, I'm so busy operating. I operate Monday through Thursday. So it's hard to
Right.
take a lot of non-surgical patients, at least right now, because I do it all myself. But I'll do it as a part of a surgical plan for patients. And meaning they don't want a nose job or a rhinoplasty, but they have a bump or they want to adjust their tips. So yeah, it works really well. Probably one of the most amazing procedures that had come across in the past maybe 15 years, or I think it's just because it's so simple, could be dangerous because you have to
It
know where
can't,
you're
that's what I
injecting.
heard. If you
But you
hit
can
the
go,
wrong spot, right?
yeah, you could go blind, you could cause skin to die off. So as simple as it sounds, oh, in 20 minutes I could have a new nose. Yeah, but in with the wrong injector, in 20 minutes you could be blind too. So it's not as there's risks to these things, but
Right.
for such a very like simple or theoretic, or in context simple procedure, it does
That
amazing. It's
really
amazing. Yeah.
changes amazingly. I know I've seen before and afters of some, and I'm like, wow, that's insane. But I also heard that can be very scary and dangerous. So I think that's where a lot of people get their like reservations about that as well.
Right. So everything has pros and cons, and you have to weigh, take it into the context. The more you know, the better.
Okay, well, I can literally talk to you about plastic surgery all day, but in tying it up here a little bit, give us what you think if someone's starting to feel in their late 30s, early 40s, even mid 40s, they're starting to see the signs, they're feeling, like they look tired. I feel like that's the first thing women start to notice, that we start to feel, and including myself, starting to feel like, ugh, I want to feel just a little brighter. I look tired.
Mm-hmm.
What's the first procedure that you really recommend when people just
Tired.
starting to feel like they look tired?
Yeah, tired is the key word for eyes. So
Eyes.
it's going to be up here. So no one really feels like they look tired because their jowls are down or they're frowning. They feel like they look mad. Tired is the eyes. So probably the most natural looking and probably one of the nicest procedures, I think. And I do it in very young patients also, meaning early 30s, is just opening up the eyes a little bit. So a temporal lift. The temporal lift is amazing. It's so subtle. And I have patients who will look at the before and after and say, oh, I don't see it. But the patients who got it done really see it, because if the easiest way to see what's going on is put a photo on top of the other photo and make it go back and forth. And I have that on some of my posts on Instagram, but you'll see the brow going like this, right? So 3 to 5 millimeters of movement is a lot around the eyes.
Right.
So something like that can just make things look more bright
really fresh and really new.
You go a centimeter, now you're like that, right? So that's a little bit more aggressive. That doesn't look rested. So I think eyes, temporal lift is a great treatment. Upper eyelid skin, even millimeters, lower eyelid skin pinch or bags removed. Mid 20s to 30s, they'll get puffiness from allergies and things like that. So they'll get their lower eyelids done too.
Under the eyes.
Yes,
well, I can tell you.
Tired means eyes. That's the best way. That's kind of
and I feel like that's what I hear a lot of my girlfriends saying. Just like, I feel tired. And so I feel like everyone just, wants their eyes done. That's how I feel. Like, I'm like, that's just what it sounds like. And then I've had a couple girlfriends do it. And I look at them, I'm like, you just look refreshed. Like, you look bright again. And they say they did their eyelids, or they did, the temple lift, I feel like, is something new. People used to just always do eyebrows. I feel like, is temple lift a little bit new or newer procedure?
I started doing it maybe about 7 years ago or so. So yeah, I think it was the answer to people feeling like they looked surprised when they had a brow lift, because that was always the treatment. So yeah, I don't know exactly how long ago it dates back to, but I know in my practice, it's been about 7 years.
Okay. So it's not that new. It's newer, but it's not that new.
Yeah. It's more about it's more rebalancing the face. It's a nice procedure for that. So it's a very smaller version of a brow lift.
Well, listen, Dr. Karolak, it's been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. My girls are going to go nuts listening to this, because I know everyone just wants to sit and have a consultation and talk to you and hear everything that you have to say. I know my sister is dying to come to you as well. She'll be in your office soon. So
oh my God.
I'm very, very excited. Yes. And then we're going to have you come back on again with maybe Dolores or Margaret, both of them, so we can talk about, more plastic surgery, because people love to hear it. And you're just so great. Guys, make sure you guys follow him on social media. You're just Dr. Karolak on social.
Yeah, at
right?
Dr. Karolak, DRKAROLAK.
He's in New Jersey. You're in like Central Jersey, I would say, right?
Yeah.
That's
by the shore. So right by like Spring Lake, Cedar, Point Pleasant.
Manasquan.
Manasquan.
Yep. Yes.
Exit 98 on the Parkway.
Yeah, right off the Parkway. Boom. Everyone has an exit off the Parkway, right? Or else you don't live in Jersey. But thank you so much for coming on. And we're going to see you again soon with Dolores and Margaret. So I'm so excited.
I cannot wait. This has been a blast. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Ciao.
Ciao.
Hi, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Chandler.
And we're the hosts of Pop Apologist Podcast, a weekly podcast devoted to celebrity gossip, Hollywood deep dives, Real Housewives drama, and anything and everything Taylor Swift.
We're two sisters who make no apologies for our love of pop culture and the fact that A-listers might mean more to us than each other.
Join us on your favorite podcast app every Wednesday for Pop Apologists.
Pop Apologists, your new favorite sister and celeb podcast.
I love reality TV on Pluto TV.
Same, and I love that it's free.
It gives me the freedom to watch Bravo's Real Housewives Vault channel.
I'm totally free to watch Bad Girls Club.
I'm free for Jersey Shore.
Love and hip hop, I'm free all day.
Survivor, I'm free all night.
With hundreds of free reality shows, you are totally free to watch what you love on Pluto TV.
Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.